Our base in the Kodagu district was the Taj Madikeri Resort and Spa. It's perched on a steep hillside 3,000 feet up in the western Ghats of Karnataka, with fantastic views over the surrounding hills. The reception is at the top of the hill, and the rooms are bungalows on terraces. The split-level bedrooms have picture windows to make the most of the view. Before setting off for the day, we fed the fish in the pond just outside reception. The district is well known for coffee growing, and we went first to the home of a plantation owner, Mrs. Kushalapa. We spent some time looking round her garden, and were told that you can book homestay holidays here. Mrs. Kushalapa, who's in her 80s, took us on a tour of the plantation. Fighting our way between the bushes, we came to where the coffee berries were being picked, and were shown how it's done. The ripe berries are twisted from the stem and allowed to drop into a collecting cloth on the ground.
We'll go to a different plant which is better.
Peppercorns are grown alongside the coffee.
It's actually green now, but we know when it's going to ripen is when the corns turn a little red. It's just that way. And then we have huge cloth bags tied to our back, and each time our hand is full, we put it into the bag.
The plantation has its own water supply in these tanks.
So, yeah,
Further into the plantation, we came to the experimental area. Last year, she grew some plants from cuttings instead of from seed. This was so successful that she's planted many more this year.
Just to the hot sun.
Yes.
It doesn't.
Finally, we went to see the coffee drying area. The beans are spread out on this concrete pad and sun-dried. They have to be turned regularly. After a delicious lunch at the house, we drove to Abbi Falls. The path leads down between private coffee plantations, and there are steps on the steeper bits. The falls are on the upper reaches of the Coorg River, and they're at their best during the monsoon. It was still pretty good when we took these pictures 5 months later. A bridge built as a viewing platform has been destroyed by floods and a landslide. It was a long climb back to the top. We left Madikeri the next day, going north. Kiran suggested we stop at a local village market. Everything was laid out on the road. This stall sold dyes and kitchen utensils. These are betel leaves, which are used to wrap areca nuts to make pan, which is chewed as a stimulant. The dried fish was a bit on the smelly side. Jaggery is palm sugar, which is used in a lot of Indian cookery. This is recycling Indian style. Some of the stallholders are itinerant, so have to do their washing where they can. Kieran got us free samples of everything. We didn't try the chilies. Next stop was an areca nut processing factory, with areca palms in the background. The nuts are split with these vicious looking blades. Then they're boiled in catechu, a red liquid extracted from the areca palm wood. The nuts are air dried and dipped in more catechu. After a final inspection, they're bagged for sale. This is what they do to your tongue. Further north again is Belur, where we visited the Chennekeshava Temple. The elaborate entrance is covered in carvings, including some from the Kama Sutra. The main temple was begun in 1117 and took 103 years to finish. It's a squat, star-shaped structure on a raised platform and is covered in sculptures, reliefs and friezes. Many of the sculptures are of dancing girls. Inside the temple are many pillars. This intricate one is made from 5 separate pieces of stone. Even the ceiling is carved stone. This exceptional pillar is carved from a single piece of stone. Outside, beyond the pillared corridor, is the temple tank, used for ritual cleansing. "10 miles down the road is Halebidu, where, set in a garden with lots of statues, is the Hoysalaswara Temple. Built in a similar style, this one is dedicated to Shiva. It was begun in the 12th century and worked on continuously until the 14th, when it was looted and fell into ruins. In a side temple is Nandi, the sacred bull calf, gatekeeper of the Hindu god Shiva. He weighs 25 tons and is 8 feet tall. There are well over 1,000 carvings on the outside of the temple, and because it was never finished, we can see how they were done. The outline was marked on the stone, then the junior mason did the rough carving. The detail was then added by the master carver. We left the temple and went to a nearby hotel for the night. After breakfast the following morning, Kieran took us on the quieter back roads. After 2 hours we came to the little village of Hirenallur. Here we stopped at the village temple. It's in the same style as the ones we'd seen yesterday, but on a much smaller scale. After falling into disrepair, it was renovated in 2004. It's surrounded by gardens, which make a great playground for the local children, who just love to be on film. The Nandi inside shows it to be a Shiva temple. The children waved us goodbye as we went to the village square, where women were collecting water from the newly installed supply. We continued north through the fields of chickpeas and maize, giving way to herds of goats as we went. We pulled in to have a look at this farmer's kitchen garden. Here he grew every conceivable kind of vegetable for his own use. as well as bringing on baby areca trees.
Not for sale. No. Because they put in the bitterness tree.
Next came a herd of buffalo feeding at the edge of a coconut plantation. We stopped briefly at Chitradurga to film the fort before joining the motorway and immediately being held up by goats. On the outskirts of Hospet there's an enormous reservoir which is almost impossible to see across. It was created by a multi-purpose dam built in 1953 to provide irrigation, electricity generation and flood control. You could almost think you were at the seaside. Immediately beyond this is the first road tunnel in Karnataka. At the other end of the tunnel, water from the reservoir is channeled through canals to irrigate the fields. From here we could see the rocks of Hampi, where we were to spend the next phase of our journey.